And the celebrations for the Storm, they roll on. And of course, we know Melbourne, their characteristics, they're ruthless, they drive the excellence. But what they do better than anything is their systems and their culture. How do they keep it at the top? How are they the gold standard of rugby league after all these years?
Yeah, Vonnie, it's driven from the top down. Melbourne are a club that they're in the coach's image. Craig Bellamy drives the culture and the systems and sets the standards at the club. And I think he's got probably the greatest 1-2 punch in the NRL that we've seen, in that he's got Cameron Smith there among the playing group who just makes sure that there's no bitching and moaning from the players. We see Bellamy's a hard taskmaster, and we've seen in the past where coaches have driven the players too hard, the players start to complain and whinge, and suddenly you get a core group, and that's when the coach is in trouble. But when you've got a player like Cameron Smith, who every time Bellamy delivers the message, Cameron Smith's out there acting on what the coach says, all the players look at him and think, well, here's the best player in the game, doing what he says, doing what he's asked, not complaining, never misses a session, does every minute of every session. They can't complain, and that's what drives it. And they set a standard through the pair of them that it's unrivalled.
Kenny, wouldn't you say they set a standard? They do. They're just. I think they're the best sporting franchise in the country, but they're not perfect. And there are faults, and I made a list.
There's no doubt about that.
And this is what I like about them. I made a list of players. Josh had a car earlier this year. Nelson stayed for Solomon. Harry Grant fell asleep in front of a house last year. Cameron Munster, Jesse Bromwich. But the thing with these guys in Melbourne, they go back into a culture and they only ever offend once. They're quickly put back on the rails by the Frank Panisis, Craig Bellamy's, Cameron Smiths, even the three owners, that they just demand excellence there.
They've had unimaginable success with, with Cameron Smith and Craig Bellamy. Buzz, you have put an article out today praising them for all of the things that they've achieved, but saying they're still much maligned. Now, you've become the self-appointed attack dog of the Melbourne Storm, defending them to the hilt and criticising anyone who had the gall to kind of point out that there are a few flaws in the system.
Look, me.
Oh, where did I criticise you? I've been criticising you all year.
You've had a crack at us today.
What? Well,
the 25 reasons.
You should love Monday Buzz, don't you? You read every line.
Yeah, I love the purple tinge up the top today for the grand final.
Thank you. I had to paint a picture today about how maligned this football club is.
I think justifiably in many cases,
I had to mention your piece last week, 25 reasons, and I know it's a bit like Origin, it's parochial, it's Sydney versus Melbourne and it's banter, but I think, and look, I didn't think Gus's commentary, I thought that was almost disrespectful.
Yeah, I don't disagree with
that. To Melbourne Storm and the great football.
You'd be hard pressed to find anybody who would argue about the commentary from Gus last night. But look, in relation to the banter in the lead up to the grand final week last week, Phil, rugby league's a rough and tumble game on the field, and it's equally as rough and tumble off the field. That includes the media. We're paid to have strong opinions. I don't shy away from the fact that at times, and you've got to be prepared.
Monday night,
you've got to be prepared to wear them back as well. And Melbourne have fired back.
Let me say,
and that's good banter.
You sit here every Monday night and you pull me apart. Oh, you're good in for Wayne Bennett. You don't like Wayne Bennett. I don't think you like Melbourne Storm.
No, I don't particularly. I don't, and that's why I wrote that column last week.
Right, okay.
Yeah. But if we're going to put those cards on the table, you've got a couple of dogs in the fight too.
Who?
Craig, well, you're very close with Craig Bellamy.
Of course
and you're very close with Frank Panisi. Yeah, and as I respect Wayne.
But so we've all
got our men in the game, Phil.
We do, yes.
But that was all banter.
What about your text message at 2:30? Tell
from Frank, it's great banter. I love it. It's awesome. I applaud Melbourne for doing it.
Now, the 25 reasons, the Storm's Frank Panisi has brought us in on the joke. We've now got 28 reasons.
Frank's the Storms. For people at home, Frank Panisi is the Storms general manager of football. He's one of the great characters in the game, and he's had a lot of fun today on his mobile phone, as you can see from these messages, and I applaud it. Like, bring it on. That's part of the theatre of rugby league. We're not performing open heart surgery here.
Even the cheese has had a go.
He's had a crack, you little baldy.
You've had a tough year, mate. With Johnny Bateman early in the year having a crack. It's been a tough year, mate.
It's a rough and tumble. Well, Alec, do you want me to bring up the...
bring up whatever you want.
Well, what about what happened last Monday night when your phone was going off?
Yeah.
We've all had a tough year, mate.
I'll just check this.
Thanks for the heads up,
But can I say, the one thing you can't...
Can you control
this?
No
way. You're on your own. No way.
The one thing you can't control is the people, okay? And the fact is, 3 of the 4 lowest rating grand finals ever contain the Storm, including the one just gone. So the people, and it's not because they're from Melbourne. Melbourne, the Storm try to portray it as an anti-Melbourne agenda or a Sydney agenda.
I would say...
I think a lot of people are off the tactics that Melbourne have used over the years.
Look, I would say they come, and Craig Bellamy said this last night, rugby league is not big in Melbourne. They don't have a huge home supporter base. There was not as much interest if it was Parramatta versus Penrith or Roosters versus Penrith. That's just natural.
Yeah, well, let me say... Okay, let me counter that by saying
you put an
that,
AFL grand final in with GWS last year against it, and it didn't rate.
Buzz, the AFL grand final on the weekend was the 3rd biggest in the past 10 years.
Yes.
And the first and second both contain the Swans.
Yeah, well, there you go.
This grand final last night was the
you can't make
fourth
that argument.
The 4th worst. Look,
Oh,
to your
mate,
point
it's
there...
Melbourne Storm's fault.
No, well, to your point about the Storm, right, and why they're a
tell you what,
polarising
people
side. Buzz, they're a polarising side because of some of the tactics that they bring to the table. You hate UFC. John Donoghue is a jiu-jitsu expert who has been part of that club dating all the way back to 2003. He's at every training session.
I would prefer to talk about Melbourne Storm with Cooper Cronk, Billy Slater, Greg Inglis, these champions, the Cameron Smiths, and those boys they put on the park last night.
Take nothing away from them.
No, but that's what I'm saying, Kenta. You don't talk about
that.
the wrestling, mate. Talk them up.
But people have always had opinions. There's plenty of people who don't like the Brisbane Broncos.
and
there's plenty of people who don't like the Roosters.
And that's what I love about this network. You two can't cop them. Matty Johns love them. I love them, you know, and it's opinion.
That's rugby league.
And that's why we're sitting having a blue candy.
You're trying to get with the strength and side with Johns. That's embarrassing, Buzz.
Mate, Johns is a very powerful man. You know he is.
Hoops, can I just ask you, when these text messages started coming through, they're on Mad Monday, by the way, so they've gone out of their way to go stick it to you, Hoops, sink the boot in. I mean, this is good banter. This is great stuff. I actually like it.
It's outstanding, Von. Look, thankfully I had the phone on Do Not Disturb last night. That's a trick I learned a couple of years ago, which means if anybody does shoot you a late night text message, you don't see it until the following morning. But good on the cheese here, Brandon Smith, for having a crack and putting the slipper in a little bit. We fire plenty of shots over the course of the season, and they're entitled to have a crack back.
Can I just say, as a younger bloke, you didn't mind shooting off the odd text message.
Buzz.
Late.
Hang on, Buzz.
Are we really going to open that up? Do you want me to get the wish you phone calls out?
There was no mobile phones in your day.
I used to ring from the phone box.